ministers are said to have been exploring using a little-known legal power allowing them to overrule the London Mayor Sadiq Khan, but they were advised that that probably doesn't hold any water, so the plan will happen. Meanwhile, Sadiq Khan's deputy urged scientists to alter a Lancet study that showed London's low-emission zones made no difference to kids' health. So is it time to scrap it? That was pretty much central to the whole thing. Let's speak with Leo Murray, director of Possible, the climate change charity. Very pro-ULEZ, Leo, as you've said before, but that's it now, isn't it? Game up. I mean, they've been rumbled, caught with their trousers down, trying to cook the books, no correlation with kids' health. What's the point?
Well, that's not what the Imperial study said. It didn't say there was no correlation. You know, the debate is over the how effective is it? You know, is it a dramatic reduction in air pollution, which is what the deputy mayor was sort of angling for them to say, or was it a smaller reduction? It's not the case, just so viewers are clear, it's not the case that that study said that it would have no effect.
Well, it said there was no difference in the prevalence of asthma symptoms or improved lung capacity in kids. That's what they concluded, which was very much has been central to what Sadiq Khan has been running around the place telling people, that 4,000 people die every year because of this, which of course we now know is just another lie. That's just not true.
It's not. No. It's not a lie. It's, you know,
it's completely made up. You know, it's made up.
It's not made up. It uses the same methodology that the government uses. You know, there's a framework for this.
Well,
right?
yes, it's called a statistical construct, right? I mean, it's not that there aren't 4,000 people dying because Matey is driving his Ford Fiesta up the Edgware Road.
Well, there are 4,000 people who were dying earlier than they would have done otherwise, thanks to respiratory conditions which are exacerbated by exposure to
might be connected to the air we breathe, and that might be connected to industry. It might be connected to domestic use. It might be connected to aeroplanes. It could be connected to all sorts of things. Well, the only way around that is to never go out. Surely
it is connected to the air that we breathe, right? So that's super clear. And
well, indeed, but it doesn't mean that it's. I mean, you would look at the London Underground before you'd look at cars, wouldn't you?
No, because about half of the exposure to toxic air which London has experienced comes from motor traffic. So it's about half. You know,
we have the cleanest air for hundreds of years, and now we're doing this, and it's getting cleaner by the month.
But why is it getting cleaner, Ian?
Because we engineer and we manufacture cars in ways we never did. We build buildings in the way we never did. Industry works and functions in a way that we never did. Home dwellings, domestic setups work and function in ways we never did. So it's happening anyway. There's an organic process.
It's not happening anyway. All of that has happened because of regulations, Ian. It's because of regulations exactly along the same lines as the ultra-low emission zone. You know, the ultra-low emission zone is just one example of a policy that drives this change. I should say, for many years, there was a voluntary agreement because the motor lobby in Europe had pushed back against hard regulations. They'd signed up to a voluntary agreement to reduce their emissions. And after some years of them making absolutely no progress, it then became a hard regulatory compliance situation, and as a consequence, air pollution from exhaust.
But there is an organic process to this. The way that cars are built, the engineering of cars, the fact that the car industry, who are probably leading this more than any politician in any country, because they are fully aware that the stuff that used to fuel a car is going to run out at some point. They're also aware that there might be better alternatives. Everybody wants a cleaner world, so they're exploring that. They're motivating themselves on that, they're marketing that, and people are starting to buy into that. So this is happening anyway. And Sadiq Khan is, you know, he's trying to find, 8% of drivers, all these millions of pounds, 8% of drivers that might be just under this random arbitrary figure that takes you just slightly below. The cars that are legal are still polluting, right?
Just to be clear, it's not happening anyway. Have we all forgotten about Dieselgate? You know, VW and a bunch of other manufacturers were found to have been fiddling the test figures, right? So that they were selling vehicles.
They were also they're in the same ballpark as Sadiq Khan's office, who were trying to fiddle the figures on this.
They haven't.
They asked a load of scientists, but Leo, they asked some scientists to change the wording of their report.
They asked.
Do you endorse that?
They asked them to put a statement out basically clarifying that they weren't actually saying that the ULEZ wasn't worth doing. And if you go and talk to the authors of that study, they will not say, we think the ULEZ is a bad idea. You shouldn't do it. It will have no effect, because that's not what their study found. The quibble has been massively misreported, including by your outlet. I mean, listen, let's talk.
She asked, the emails have been seen. She asked if they could reword the study's conclusions that found no evidence of health benefits to kids' lungs. That's what the Deputy Mayor asked for that to happen. And they said that they wouldn't do that. Why would she ask for that?
She asked them to issue a statement. She didn't ask them to alter their findings. She asked them to issue a statement clarifying.
To reword the study's conclusion that found no evidence.
No, that's. I mean, listen. I haven't read all of her emails.
Okay, well maybe you should, because that's what was asked.
I've read what's been reported, and it isn't what you've just described, right?
But you haven't. Hang on, you haven't. So what has been reported? What has been seen?
What's been
by one
reported is that
publication?
Shirley Rodriguez wrote to the study authors to say, "This
Could you reword your conclusion?"
Really damaging. No, not to reword your conclusion. She asked them to issue a statement.
That's a direct quote from her. Could you reword the study's conclusion? The word reword is used in quotation marks here, attributed to the Deputy Mayor.
Right. Well, I mean...
So that's bad, right? You'd agree with that? That's very bad.
Yeah,
that's very bad. So
I'm not...
So you're on side after all, Leo. Scrap ULEZ. Is that what you want to say?
Listen, let's talk about for a moment this ridiculous story that the government was going to try to legally block this.
I agree. Listen, they were going to give it a go, but they were, that's what governments do. They were told it won't work.
They're pretending that they were going to give it a go.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with you totally on that. They're trying to play. Listen, I'm under no illusions, Leo, that if Boris Johnson was still Mayor of London, there would still be an expansion of the ULEZ zone. I believe that would have been the case. He was the guy, I think, that originally introduced the idea, and he would have no doubt expanded it. Leo, listen, we stopped for time and no other reason. Leo Murray, Director of Possible, the climate change charity.